According to Michael Bisping, the UFC ought to start thinking about depriving Jon Jones of his title, or at the very least sending him a warning. Paul Felder and Bisping discussed their opinions on the ongoing discussions between Jon Jones and the UFC in a recent episode of their podcast. Although July, when the bout is reported to take place during International Bout Week, may seem far off, Felder voiced annoyance that it's actually only a few months away, given that combatants require a full 2 months of fight camp for such a significant event. Given that Aspen is prepared to go and is only awaiting Jones's commitment, he emphasized that the UFC must begin finalizing plans as soon as possible. With talks continuing since November, Bisping made it apparent that a champion who declines to face the required challenger or interim title holder would probably lose their title if this were any other sport, such as boxing. Sports lovers and aficionados are eagerly awaiting the conclusion of this epic battle. Is Jones being stopped by Aspen alone? Bisping says the UFC might need to take a more assertive stand in order to address this issue. He suggested that Jones be given a deadline by the UFC to commit to the bout, possibly by April. The UFC may be forced to take action and deprive Jones of the belt if he doesn't step up.
If it's July, it's a little further than I thought. But even still, I mean, we're in March. It's not that long away. You got to hope that they can start really getting those negotiations going, because it's only one-sided. Tom's just waiting. He's ready to go. It's really about just getting Jon to commit to doing this damn thing, man. It's going to be huge. But you know what? Again, maybe he is always been willing to take it, and just once the stakes really high, I don't know. But
at what point do you start conversations about stripping? Because in any other sport, certainly in boxing, if the champion will not fight the next mandatory challenger or won't fight the interim champion in the same weight class, then they will strip them. It's time for it to start happening, and it doesn't sound like it is, because Tom Aspinall's sitting on trains trying to do everything he can to make the fight happen. So at some point they might have to say, look, listen, Jon, we're going to give you a deadline. We're going to give you a deadline. You've got until the end of April. And if you will not accept this fight, then what do you want us to do?
Large Josh Thompson and John McCarthy analyzed the bout between Sean Brady and Leon Edwards this weekend. They concentrate on Leon's plan and stress that he must take the initiative and not let Sean Brady hold him back. Edwards is very effective when he is the aggressor pursuing down his opponent. If he is pushed back, he usually waits, which restricts his offensive potential. Many MMA fans were taken aback by Edwards' lopsided defeat at the hands of current champion Belal Muhammad. Even though Leon was a huge favorite and performed in his native nation, he was unable to successfully defend his title by implementing his game plan. Rocky subsequently attributed the defeat to the walkout's timing, which affected his concentration and vitality, and occurred at roughly 5 in the morning local time. This time, Edward is up against Sean Brady, a highly technical fighter with strong wrestling and striking skills but little stamina. Brady is a powerful fighter with good technique, so Lion must use his reach advantage to keep Brady at bay and manage the tempo if he wants to win. With quicker and more precise combinations, Leon is the superior striker. When he chooses to throw with intent, he also has good power. But keeping up offensive pressure and preventing Brady from forcing...
First thing Leon has to do is Leon has to get off. What I mean by that is he needs to be moving forward. When Leon is moving forward and hunting his opponent down, he is really effective. It's when he's being pushed back that he waits. And so first thing off, I need you stepping forward. You know, if that means that you both match up and you both, stay in the middle and you're just, laterally circling out to reset and then go again, great. But do not allow Sean Brady to push you back.
Doesn't matter. To me, I don't believe if he wins this fight, if he doesn't win in an impressive fashion, like he has a tendency to sometimes just let the fight develop in front of him and just like tap like a sparring session. Sure. The UFC is getting killed by that. It drives them nuts.
You're a longer fighter than Sean Brady. He's a stockier guy. He's got good technique, the better jab, and the better stand-up technique, and the smoother transitions in that stand-up. You got to give it to Leon Edwards.
Magomed recently told a fascinating tale about his time working with USADA. He disclosed that Zank BV has been testing him far more regularly than previously during an appearance on the company's YouTube channel. They once arrived to his home in the middle of the night and left again. The champion emphasized that he has never used steroids, but he did acknowledge using a prohibited substance once, but only for medical reasons. He explained that this caused some issues with UFC officials, but he cleared everything up by providing a doctor's note to demonstrate that it was for legitimate medical purposes. After the paperwork was reviewed, the matter was settled without any more issues. The champion was tested again the next morning for another random test. Every medication you take, no matter how small, requires a prescription from a doctor since you don't want to take a chance. When the UFC officials noticed that I had previously had to take prescriptions containing prohibited substances for medical reasons, my team was able to provide them with the receipt, which resolved the issue. However, they've been testing me far more frequently lately than they used to. They even once arrived late at night and left again. Jan Błachowicz might have something to say about those plans, although it has been a little more intense lately, and the person who just defeated Alex Pereira handily is probably going to meet Pereira again in a rematch the following morning. Ahead of his encounter this weekend, the Polish fighter recently talked to UFC News about how happy he is to be back in the spotlight after almost 2 years. He talked about the pressure of the circumstance and how he's learned to transform it into positive energy as he reflected on his comeback. He claimed to have unresolved issues with Envy and to be focused on moving forward with a rematch with the title following his impending bout with Carlos Oldberg. Jan might ruin Pereira's ambitions by putting up a strong show this weekend, even though Anv and Pereira are probably going to cross paths again. Israel Adesanya, who has only won once and lost 4 of his past 5 fights since 2022, received some guidance from Yoel Romero. Romero underlined that Adesanya requires time to recuperate from the harm he has caused. He clarified that while Izzy and other fighters require time to recuperate, the UFC does not always offer that luxury. Due to contractual commitments, fighters are obligated to respond when the UFC calls. Romero suggested that instead of pushing himself too hard in sparring, Izzy should change his training to concentrate on recuperation. Instead of putting sparring first, he advised him to approach his training more like therapy in order to aid in his body's recovery. Instead of continuing to train so hard, Yoel thinks Izzy should give his body time to recuperate if he wants to return strong. Adesanya defeated Romero to successfully defend his middleweight belt at UFC 248 in early 2020. However, the highly anticipated bout turned out to be a dull contest that lasted 5 rounds. After his recent setbacks, what do you think Israel Adesanya's future holds? Is his illustrious career as